everyone, welcome to Journey with the Kellers. My name is Amanda Keller. This back here behind me is my husband, Joe Keller. So he is actually working on the rear differential, I cannot speak today, on the 2005 Ford Explorer Sport Trac. But we just wanted to do a little intro to show you us finishing up the brakes, or him finishing, I don't know why I keep saying us, him finishing up the brakes, and then also an oil change. So you guys can see the step-by-step process of how to do an oil change. I'm not sure if we're going to do much videos on this rear differential. I will tell you that he has found some really weird stuff. Like they sealed up the differential pan with regular house caulk. It's really heat resistant, isn't it? And that the rear seals are the originals in the truck. So, of course, they're being stubborn. Don't want to come out. All right, you guys. So I'll update you on more later, but for now, here's the finishing up the front brakes and then also your step-by-step process to do an oil change. See you later.
Hello, so we're back with the Ford Explorer Sport Trac. We're doing the brakes. I just wanted to show you, so whenever you're doing your brakes, this is what they mean by floating caliper. It floats on these pins so it can easily move in and out. So you want to make sure that it's clean and it's greased when you're putting it back together. You don't want this to stick because then your brake pads will not wear evenly. So you just put that in there and make sure that your rubber seals up to the bracket, the slide bracket. As you can see, we cleaned it. So it's ready for install, and we'll be back with the install. Okay, so we're back with the Ford Explorer Sport Trac. We got the brakes on. Now, as you can see, it's all mounted up. Remember, we lubed the slides. We put the bracket back on with the big bolts in the back. And we touched up the paint because this thing was really rusty. We cleaned it with the wire wheel. And then off camera, we changed the shock. It was way easier than I thought. I didn't have penetrating oil, so a good substitute is transmission fluid. So I soaked it, let it sit all night, and the bolts actually came out. So got one new shock on. We got this side done. We'll just repeat for the other side. But this side is ready to rock and roll. One down, 3 to go. Okay, we're going to do the oil change today on the Ford Explorer Sport Trac. I've removed the oil filler cap. It just helps the oil drain a little better. I did run it to get it up on the ramp so the oil's warm. I'll make sure it's warm. It don't have to be scalding hot, but I have these ramps. Just drive it up on there. It makes it easier to get under. And your cap will almost always tell you what weight of oil to put in the engine. So this is 530, and I just know from owning Fords through the years that they like the synthetic blend with these older Fords. So that's what I got, just the Napa Premium synthetic blend oil with the Napa Gold filter. Napa's filters are made by Wix, are really good. Wix, if you watch independent studies, they are the best. They win about every test that you could watch or read about. So I like to use them. The base frames are bad. The K&N is bad. Don't buy those oil filters. The Fram Tough Guard is okay. Tough Guard are higher. Mobile One's good. There are a lot of good filters. There's only a couple of bad ones. And unfortunately, the Fram base is one of them. Don't buy them. You can watch independent tests. They're pretty bad. The Delcos are bad too. Motorcraft's pretty good. So I'm going to get set up and get under the truck and show you what I'm doing. Okay, what you're going to need to do an oil change is pretty simple. You need a wrench, whatever size wrench your drain plug is. They're anywhere from 12 to 17 on most cars in America. Oil filter wrench and a drain pan. Luckily this truck holds 5 quarts, so I'll be able to dump the old oil back into the container to take it and recycle it. So make sure you recycle your oil. Don't just dump it on the ground. So we're gonna spin around here. We go under the truck. So on this one, this is where the drain plug is for the engine. This one, the transmission does not have a drain plug, so you can't mess that up. And yes, it's leaking. I gotta change that gasket today too. But this is your drain plug, and the oil filter on this one's hiding. It's kind of in a tough spot. It's all the way up there. Ford is usually good about making that easy to get to, but this one, and what's on there, what I talked about, it's a Fram Tough Guard. So those are okay. They're just okay. They're not great. They're not terrible. So we're going to take this drain plug loose. Just grab your wrench. This one's a 13 mil. For extra leverage, just take another wrench and put it on there, the old double wrench method, and grab your pan. Let me get you picked up here in a second. So this is the oil coming out into my pan. So it's really weird that when even with low mileage, when they sit for a long time, that's why they say even when no miles, you need to change your oil once a year. This oil is pretty black. It's not milk chocolatey, which is good, which means this thing doesn't have a lot of water in it, or I didn't see any metal. So you can kind of just shine your light on the top. Look in there, it's still brown, still a brownish haze to it. That's what semi-synthetic looks like. It's a little dirty, but there's no metal. The metal will usually float, little sparklies until it sinks. It's not glittery, not milky, so it's good. So I'll show you guys what we do for the filter. I'll be back. Okay, so now we're to the oil filter. I've got the drain plug back in. It's just the reverse of taking it out. They all have a magnet on them, so you want to make sure you wipe the magnet off. There's nothing on this one before you put it back in. And to get the specs, just look your spec up. What's around 15 to 24 foot-pounds. So when you're doing your oil filter, it doesn't apply to this one, but be careful because sometimes your starter posts are right next to it, especially on front-wheel drive cars, so it's easy to arc it when you're using your pliers to remove it. So you just grab your oil filter pliers to bring it loose. As you can see, this one's in a really bad spot. Like, how are you supposed to get to this stupid thing? It's so big for a V6. So, okay, I broke it loose. Now you want to grab a rag because it's going to leak down into the pan. Hopefully it don't splash on my phone. So I do is I just let them drip what they're going to drip here to begin with, and then grab a rag and that'll keep it from running down your armpit. And spin it out. Just like that. And then dump it out in the pan. So it's pretty common especially on cheaper filters, for the gasket to stay right here. So you want to always wipe that and make sure the gasket isn't on there. You double gasket it, it can cause a leak and cause you to lose all your oil. It's not good. So I'll show you how you prep the filter next. Okay, now we're going to prep the oil filter. Now, some filters, like K&N is one of them, some others, will have a plastic film over the top of this to keep dirt out for shipping. Make sure you remove it. If you don't remove it, you're not going to get oil pressure. You'll blow your engine up. So, this is a vertical installed filter. Some are horizontal, and some are actually opposite, upside down. So you really can't fill those at all. So you always want to fill it when you can. Pre-fill your filter, then your engine doesn't go without oil pressure when you start it. So you slowly dump the new oil in. To the brim like that, and then you want to take your finger with a clean finger and lube that O-ring up. And that'll keep it from ripping or crumpling up when you tighten it. So even if it's a upside down one, you want to make sure that you always lube the sealing ring. If you don't, you can tear it when you put it in and you'll have a leak. So I'm going to keep filling this up a little bit at a time. It's tough to do a 5-quart jug slowly. It's not going the greatest. There we go. So just filling all the crevices up, and then I'll put it on. Okay, now the last step is to fill the engine with oil. So you want to make sure you use a clean funnel. I cleaned this one before I put it in the engine. You can use brake clean or rubbing alcohol. We're going to use the same funnel to dump the oil in. So I know that this engine takes 5 quarts. So I know I can just dump the whole thing in. If you're not sure, put 4 in. 4 is a good starting point. Start it, check it. There isn't too many cars that don't take at least 4. Heck, my motorcycle takes 3. So just give it a second for the oil to run down. I just take the funnel out and put it right back in the jug so don't make a mess. Always put your cap back on. And then you start it and check for leaks. So as you heard, since I filled the filter up, once we started it, it did knock and clatter and clang. So if you have a filter that you got to put it in sideways, you'll notice that it'll clang a little bit when you first start it. Lifters will make noise. That's normal. There's nothing you can do. You can't fill it when it's sideways. And just so you know, the bike is that way. So I can show you on the bike. So on the bike, the filter goes sideways in the motor, so you can't pre-fill it. Now, I lubed it when I did the service, but you can't pre-fill it because it just dumps out, makes a mess. So once you run it, let it run for a couple minutes, not too long, and then shut it off and recheck your oil level and you're good. Now if you have grease zerks, you want to grease it. Now I don't have any grease because every car I own doesn't have greaser, so I have to pick up some grease and grease this one. This one's got 6 or 7 grease zerks in it, so